but it didn't cost him a place in Q2. He was 12th overall. Even without that, the team perhaps either not aware of the intricacies of the regulations, or they just didn't send the message to Manu Gonzalez to box. He has continued, but this lap's clearly going to be cancelled, whatever Manu does.
Tell you what, fastest lap of the weekend. Let's get this out of the way now. A 48.319, that was by Jake Dixon this morning. In the session we've just had, David Alonso was not far away from that. He was on a 48.3 as well. So that's the benchmark. I reckon, Lewis, if we're lucky, maybe low 48s, potentially 47.
It's not beyond the realms, is it? The lap records have been absolutely smashed here this weekend. Last year, Manu Gonzalez, of course, when he was in Grassini Blue, in Saturday practice, he set a new all-time lap record on a 49.711. That was beaten by 20 riders in practice yesterday afternoon. Of course, Pirelli have gone more aggressive on the tyres here this weekend. Of course, their second visit to Mobility Resort Motegi. Gonzalez now on the green, so his lap's now been cancelled for 2 reasons as he comes around this lap. But with the SCX Super Soft rear tyre, we've seen a quantum leap forward in Moto2 performance.
We really have, and that all comes from their philosophy of softer. Is not just a bit more durable, it's actually really, really quick. Yellow flags in Sector 3, Marshall's running at the top of shot, so someone has already canned it at turn 10. That's Philip Salachwell. There's one Elfmark VDS Bosco-Scuro enjoys one of the best weekends of the year. The other one has had a very, very tricky day and weekend indeed. Via Q2 and already via Q1 and already down and out in Q2.
Well, we're keeping a close eye on both of the RW galaxies, and for good reasons, because they're both going very well. There is the new all-time lap record. David Alonso on a 148.129. Maybe he has cracked qualifying at last, as he now takes provisional pole position. But I said the RW team were going well. Ayumu Sasaki up to second place, and for the evidence of this weekend, that is no surprise.
Not at all, and he's also under Jake Dixon's time from this morning, only by a couple of thousandths. This will be the front end folding away for Philip Salach, and down he goes, rolls around on the tarmac, picks himself up and looks at the bike and waves his hands in the air. He's not happy about that one, but that is a very quick time out the
now
no!
Sasaki is down moments after setting that 48.3. That's the second crash of the day for Ayumu Sasaki. He was down at turn 10 in free practice 2 this morning, so already a bit of a bittersweet session for Crazy Boy.
And he's going to be told to move off and out of the way as well by the marshals. Didn't look like he was taking too much notice of them down at turn 3. That will be getting looked at as well if he's disobeying the stewards at the marshals' orders. But what a disaster for Ayumu Sasaki. The front of the bike looks a little bit punched up as well. So the 71 is in P2, but only for the moment.
I'm amazed that the Intact team haven't pitted Gonzalez here. He's continuing to lap around this circuit. Elliot, what's going on? Are they not aware that Gonzalez's lap time's going to get cancelled here?
No, it doesn't seem like it. They're giving him the box call at the end of this lap, but that's only naturally. He's done 2 flying laps, and so that's what would naturally happen. But so far, they've not put on the pit board box. They are doing now, though, but I don't think they're aware at all.
Gonzalez, better hope he's got another top. Sure, you will at the end of this Q2 session, but it's pretty clear. We've seen it in the regulations this season. Horetha recall it happening in MotoGP qualifying. Any lap you set on a run where you've gone out before the session has even started, that run is null and void.
I just can't believe a team of that stature has made such a mistake like this. The amount of risks that Manuel Gonzalez carries, if he does throw it down the road, he could be 18th on this grid. Then it's title not just as sewn up as we thought it would be.
And potentially retreat for Aaron Canet if that were to happen. Here's the rider who is second in the World Championship and the nearest contender to Gonzalez, Diogo Moreira, who's not exactly threatening Gonzalez's situation either. 13th at the moment for the Brazilian, who were expecting pretty imminent confirmation that he's heading up to MotoGP. It's perhaps the worst kept secret in this paddock, and rather puzzled Jake Dixon speaking to his crew chief Lucio Nicastro. Dixon at this stage on the back of row 3 in 9th place on a 148.7.
Yeah, didn't expect to see this one at all. A 48.7 was 4 tenths off what he was able to do earlier. We can see Philip Salach is back in the box, so both of the Elfmark VDS Bosco-Scuros are down there ready to get on with their second run. I tell you what, this is a good opening sector from Diogo Moreira as he climbs the hill up towards turn 7. This is the really, really fast and flowing part of this Motegi circuit, and he's only half a tenth away, so this would be provisional front row if the Brazilian can hold it.
So on your screens at the moment, it is Alonso, Gonzalez, Sasaki. We're expecting Gonzalez's lap time to get disallowed, but we'll treat it as we see it. When that is officially cancelled, it'll drop off your screen, so until that point we'll still treat him as second place on the grid. Diogo Moreira then, who course, has been a pretty classic qualifier in recent times. Moreira has been on pole position on 4 occasions this season, and they've all come since Motorland Aragon. He has become a bit of a Saturday specialist at the moment, down on the 5th row of the grid. But the Brazilian looks like he's around about 3 corners away from changing that.
Yeah, he looks very, very good here. Diogo Moreira, he's 13th, so he got his banker in. But this is going to be one heck of a lap as he comes towards completing half of this Q2 session, driving to the line. Diogo Moreira, we can hold it, that's P2. Let's see where it does put him. Only 5th, middle of that 2nd row. So Moreira losing a lot of time in that final sector.
0.2 of a second to be exact, and that is a lot in Moto2 terms. So Moreira now onto the 2nd row of the grid. So as it stands, and that is the biggest of asterisks that comes after that statement, Gonzalez still a row ahead of him on the grid. Baltus, of course, the other championship contender in this Q2 session, prior Q1, he's currently sitting in 8th place, which would represent something of a save, given how his Saturday was looking earlier on today. 3 riders, as it stands, yet to set a time. Philip Salach now back on the racetrack. We know why he hasn't set a time. Alonso Lopez, another rider out of Q1, potentially just saving that one brand new soft rear tyre, super soft rear tyre, for his final run of Q2. Colin Bayer also without a lap time till on the board. That was down to yellow flags.
Joe Roberts down in 14th. We were saying yesterday and this morning that perhaps Roberts is back. Well, he was 6th yesterday. Not exactly sure what the problem is down there in 14th. Oh, pandemonium down there in the crazy boy side of the RW racing box. There's mechanics running around everywhere. They're trying to get that machine fixed and ready to go out again, because Sasaki's on the provisional front row. He's not guaranteed to hold it.
They know that this is the biggest of opportunities for Ayumu Sasaki in his Moto2 career so far. We've yet to see Sasaki qualify higher than 9th. That was Hungary this year. Best finish also of 9th, which was a couple of races prior to that at the Saxon Ring. So it's very clear that he's got the opportunity to fight for pole position here. The rider currently holding pole position is David Alonso, who we said when Q1 began, the big weakness is his qualifying. Is David Alonso about to fix that weakness in the form of 2 15-minute qualifying sessions in Japan?
Let's see what Manuel Gonzalez can do, because Gonzalez, if that lap time is valid, is just under 2/10 away from this rider on screen. David Alonso, well, happy memories in Japan. He's looking to make some more of them in 2025. The rest of the field rolling out. This is the 2nd run. They'll want to be careful not to get themselves in traffic here as we look at Alonso Lopez now leaving the pit lane to see if he can go for broke and try and back a very, very strong qualifying performance. Like Jake Dixon and even Ortola just coming around the outside of him. So good reference points on the track for the number 21.
Ortola's a canny customer. He often finds the right rider to follow, and he's found Jake Dixon on the racetrack. He knows Dixon's got pace to be much higher than 10th, and he knows that Dixon is going to be pushing on this lap. But how good does Alonso look? Of course, he's secured a lot of the limelight from an Aspar point of view with his victory in Hungary, which lit a fire under his teammate Danny Holgado. Holgado then went on to take a victory in a 2nd in 2 races since then. David Alonso wants some of that praise back in his direction down at the Aspar squad. Best stellar rookie pairing in Moto2. 1st and 4th at the minute. Ayumu Sasaki, the information from in pit lane, is going to get back into this qualifying session to defend his place on the front row. Here's his motorcycle, now awaiting its rider.
Yeah, we just need to see Sasaki come out. He's got 4.5 minutes, so he has got time on his side. He might get a couple of laps in here if he wants them. So Ayumu Sasaki is going to give the home fans what they want, and that is a flurry at the end of this session. But David Alonso coming through the final chicane, nothing to write home about on this lap.
Dixon is improving, but a 10th and a half off is going to be front row at best, unless he has a superb 2nd half of the lap. A 48.6 for Alonso on the 1st lap of run 2, so it's not going to defend his pole position as he tests the limits of both the track and his motorcycle through turn 1. Dixon is having a strong 2nd half of the lap, and he is now coming back towards Alonso.
He's got to be so careful though through turn 11, because he hasn't got time to throw this down the road now. This is a massive lap incoming for Jake Dixon. It's bumpy through turns 12 and 13, but he's right on the curb. Perfect line through that final sector. What has Dixon got then as he charges to the line? Even Ortola was canny. He might be on course to improve as well, but Dixon moves up to the front row and demotes home hero Ayumu Sasaki. So Dixon back where we've seen him all weekend.
So close. Gonzalez, Dixon, Sasaki covered by 15 thousandths to the second, third, and fourth. Van den Dolberg on a 48.666. Goes onto the back of row 4 alongside Arbolino and Ortola. Gonzalez has just set the fastest first sector of this qualifying session. Whatever the debates about how his first run is going to stick in the annals of history, Gonzalez looking to end any kind of debate here.
Yeah, he's coming through turn 7. This is the climb uphill through up towards the S's, and Dixon as well, the number 96 thousandths up, so keep an eye on Dixon. It's not the match for Gonzalez though. Gonzalez 2/10 up, more than 2/10 up at the halfway point.
Destroyed the second sector, didn't he? Gonzalez, of course, won this Grand Prix last year. Dixon also very strong through the second part of the lap. These are the two riders who've really been the pick of the bunch so far this weekend. They've been going head to head through all 3 sessions so far, and it could be Gonzalez versus Dixon for pole in Japan.
I think Gonzalez just blew turn 10 a little bit. He looked like he was just a bit off the apex. He's all right though through that 3rd sector. Let's see what he's got through the 4th sector. Ayumu Sasaki gets out of the way. He knows he's there. Gonzalez breaking on the curve, tips it into turn 11. Be careful, Manu. He gets it through cleanly. Gonzalez going for pole.
Holgado not out of the equation either. Look at the second of the Aspar rookies who's improving as Manu Gonzalez, now the 18, looking to deal out maximum punishment for Aaron Canet for being eliminated in qualifying 2. Bouncers, he's trying to rescue this session for a frantic persuasion. Gonzalez is into the 147s. 147.925, the fastest ever Moto2 lap of Mobility Resort Motegi. What does Dixon have by way of response? Dixon across the line on a 48.2. He goes into 3rd place.
Dixon good on that front row. I tell you what, I reckon there's time in this left in this yet though for Manu Gonzalez, because he was wide at turn 10. If he can hook it up and hit an apex, we could be in the 47.8 at least.
Taspar 2 and 3 now. Holgado into 3rd place on the front row of the grid on a 48.1. Vietti's gone into 4th on a 48.1 too. So close. There is Vietti trying to pile past Ethan Guevara, who's now back into 9th spot. Vietti off the back of Victory and Mazzano, now on the front of row 2.
Yeah, Dixon's all out of it. So Jake Dixon, I don't think he's going to be able to improve on that 5th place on the grid. So a lot of drama. Now, does Jake Dixon have a lap time cancelled, I wonder?
And he's just been relegated, I think, with the Holgado and Vietti improvements back to 5th place. Could get worse actually for Dixon here, because we've got Baltus improving. Vietti with that move on Guevara has secured him a personal best through the 1st sector. Moreira's in need of an improvement here too, because he's back in 8th place. We're right on board with the Brazilian at the moment. Gonzalez on pole position. Moreira in desperate need of an improvement. He cannot afford to start 2 rows behind Gonzalez.
He needs to be on the 2nd row at least. We're going to take him through turns 12, 13 and 14. Look at the bumps. Look at the bumps through there. Deary me, chatter. He can have a job in his comms box with that amount of chatter. Diogo Moreira coming to the line. Does it put him off? Oh, he gets to the 2nd row at least. That's where he said he needs to be.
So Dixon is now back to 6th. Watch Vietti though. He's also going very, very quickly. Could potentially get ahead of the Aspar pair with this one. Celestino Vietti is into the final sector. Here comes the number 13, who's into turn number 11, the 90th degree corner. Vietti, who finished 2024 in incredible form with some great late season results. He also navigates the bumps through turn 12, and then a fast change of direction to be on the right hand side of the tyre for the victory corner. Is V for victory or V for Vietti in this qualifying session? Holgado now takes his teammate for 2nd place. Vietti has to settle for 4th place though on a 48.1. It is Spa 2 and 3, a double front row for Nico Tirol and company, but it is pole position for Manu Gonzalez on a day when Aaron Canet starts 23rd. Diogo Moreira 5th and Barry Baltus 7th. That is a crucial pole position for Manu Gonzalez, a magnificent 7th of the season.
And I've got to say, Gonzalez this weekend looking like Gonzalez right at the start of this season. He looks like he can walk on water this weekend. He has been in fine form and he's still right on course for matching where he's been all weekend. This would still be quicker than anyone else has been able to do. On the 47.9, no wonder he's all happy down there. All-time lap record. Manu Gas, full gas.
Yeah, he's still riding for his life while the team are already high-fiving and congratulating and hugging each other down in the intact box. He's already on pole position, but he wants to rub their noses in it on this final lap of the session. Vietti, Moreira, Dixon will be your 2nd row of the grid. Baltus, bit of a rescue job from Q1 to 7. Sasaki relegated to 8th. That is still a career best qualifying for Ayumu Sasaki, unless anyone else relegates him further down the order. Colin Bayer might do that, but he's in the final sector right now. Guevara and Arbolino for the Blue Crew team were 9th and 10th. That now becomes 8th 9th and 10th and 11th, should I say. Eventually we'll get there via into 9th place. Sasaki now finds himself right in harm's way as Gonzalez looks to complete another sub 148. Doesn't need this lap time remotely, but Manu Gonzalez does cross the line anyway. It's a 48.2. Doesn't need it. He's on pole position anyway.
He is indeed. And Ayumu Sasaki, for the home fans there, middle of the third row, he can be happy with that. He's going to be a little bit dejected though, because that was a session of what could have been. We said about an all-time lap record, Jake Dixon this morning on a 148.319. Well, that's been beaten by, I can tell you, the top 8 riders and all of that. The Moto2 bike, incredible.
Well, he was on pole position, or he took pole position, should we say, at the Austrian Grand Prix. Had a group penalty, which dropped him back to 4th. So that is the first time which dropped him back to 4th.
47.9.
Streak on a Saturday afternoon has got a little bit cold as of late, but from an almighty challenge from Aspar, Manu Gonzalez has defeated their rapid pair of rookies.
And I tell you what, just completing that front row, I make that the first front row for David Alonso in Moto2 as well. Previous best of 4th place. He's now on the front row. So very strong stuff indeed for both of the Aspar machines.
He's still, I guess, a little tinge of regret. He's still been out-qualified again by his teammate Daniel Holgado. That is a competitive teammate rivalry that is driving both of them on. That's exactly the kind of teammate rivalry you'd want from an Aspar point of view, because he's bringing the best out of both Alonso and Holgado. But will be eyeing victory in this Japanese Grand Prix tomorrow.
As long as they don't tangle with it through the ranks. And MotoGP, if this lad does back his ride, which we are assuming he will, over at LCR Honda next year, might just be one of the stars in the future.
And Moreira will certainly be a podium threat from there. Jake Dixon. Put in there in case some fruity language does come across the airwaves from Jake Dixon, but rather puzzled. Dixon, after that, a shrug of the shoulders to Luciano De Castro in the Elfmark VDS box. Just expecting to be talking about a 6th place start for Dixon, given that he's been unbeaten through qualifying or through practice so far prior to Q2. If you take a look at Colin Bayer, who will start in 9th place. Championship contenders littered across the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix tomorrow. Gonzalez on pole, Moreira 5th, Bautas 7th, Connect 23rd.
A real jumbled up grid for the title contenders. But Lewis, as we know in MotoGP and the wider classes, only points on Sunday. That's the beauty. It can all still be turned on its head. I tell you what, if Manuel Gonzalez paces anything to go by, he should have this one covered. But we know David Alonso is a very hard charger, and on used tyres, nothing is out of the question for the number 18.
He oozes confidence, doesn't he, Manu Gonzalez? He doesn't lack self-belief. But it's certainly not cocky or arrogant if you back it up, and there's no question that Manu Gonzalez generally backs it up. That's a big result for Manu Gonzalez in the context of what happened to his other title contenders. Manu delivered when it mattered most. It doesn't matter now what happens with that first run in qualifying. He set a 47.9 on his second run anyway, and a rider who could do nothing but take pole position in the first parts of the season. Poles in Buriram, Argentina, Qatar, Jerez and Le Mans. Hasn't started on pole position since then, but at the Grand Prix where he took his first Moto2 victory tomorrow, and he'd take a big step towards the world title over the course of 19 laps tomorrow.
You've got to say yes, but we've seen Manu Gonzalez play it smart. If he knows his title contenders are scattered throughout the pack, we know Diogo Moreira is his nearest one, but it is very, very tight. So, you know, I wouldn't be betting against. If David Alonso really wants to go for victory, Manu Gonzalez isn't going to deny him that one. Gonzalez has the title to think about and has been the thinking man in 2025. David Alonso, he just needs to get the wins before the end of this season and the start of next.
Well, a birthday present for Nico Tirol there as the team were singing happy birthday to him. A double front row to celebrate for Nico Tirol, and if paddock tradition is customary, he'll have a face full of birthday cake in the Aspar hospitality later on today. Boy of his rookie pairing, giving him a birthday to remember today.
He'll be thrilled that he got that shouted and sung to him over in on TV as well. I'll tell you what though, someone else who's going to be thrilled, Manu Gonzalez, pole at Motegi.
Now down to you.
after a slight jump start at the start of the session, you went on to bank pole position, and that feels massive in terms of the title context. How you feeling, and talk us through that lap time as well?
Yeah, well, I was so focused on the qualifying that I didn't watch the green light. So yeah, it was a mistake. But then in the qualifying, I felt super good with the bike. We have a really good setting now, and I can push really on the limit with the front tire. That is what I like, and I'm so happy about this. Yeah, it's not an easy track, but we made a pole position. I don't know how many we have, but I think we are fast also in qualifying now. And I'm happy that for the race we are also super strong, and let's keep pushing for tomorrow.
7th pole of the season, Manu. Good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you, thank you.
He's had so many poles, he's quite literally lost count. But Manu Gonzalez, perhaps the most crucial pole of his Moto2 season so far. And always an air of almost impenetrable confidence when Manu Gonzalez speaks.
He really does ooze an aura of someone who is on his way to world title success. Of course, he knows how to manage titles. 2019 World Supersport 300 champion Manu Gonzalez knows how to get them over the line. That one was a lot more dominant than what he's having this year, but it is still a title race. He knows that he needs to get it over the line. Pole won't have hurt.
Thanks to Kiko for joining us. We'll be back together for qualifying in Indonesia in a week's time. Manu Gonzalez on pole for the 7th time this year. It's a double front row for Aspar. Holgado and Alonso 2 and 3. Celestino Vietti Mazzano in a 4th ahead of Diogo Moreira and Jake Dixon. Fastest Nevi practice session they've had to settle for 6th. Balta 7th from Q1. Sasaki after a crash 8th. Bayer at the last gas took 9th. Guevara Arbolino for Blue Crew Pramac 10th and 11th, head of Arenas Ortola, Van den Gorberg, Roberts, Lopez, Munoz and Salah to complete your 18 from Q2. Salah for the crash at the start of the session. Ramirez 19th, ahead of Senna Agius, Jorge Navarro and Adrian Puertas. Aaron Canet, the worst time for his worst qualifying in 5 years, 23rd for him. Darren Binder, Mario Aggi, Alex Escricci, Kukuni and Unai Aradre, the only riders behind him on the grid. What a big day that might prove to be in the World Championship reckoning. It's pole for Manu Gonzalez for the Japanese Grand Prix. The Tissot sprint coming up. Marc Marquez can't clinch the World Championship, but he can take another step closer. The sprint is on the way in just a moment.
Okay, to the charming natural beauty of the Kanto district and host the Japanese Grand Prix since 2004. One of the ability resort Motegi's MotoGP's 4-round tour of Asia and Australia gets into full swing. Japan is the karaoke capital of the world, but who will be on song over 12 laps of sprint action? On a weekend, Marc Marquez seeks to end a 6-year drought for MotoGP glory. It's time for MotoGP. First on the MotoGP calendar, all the way back in 1999, this magnificent Honda-built complex, constructed back in 1997, 4.8 kilometers in length, 2.983 miles, 14 corners, 8 right, 6 of them left, featuring some of the most savage braking zones on the whole Grand Prix calendar. A short start finish rate of 762 meters. Been a few riders crash at turns 9 and 10 so far this weekend. Heavy braking, a good overtaking up spot down the hill into turn 11 before the riders power out of turn 14, the very aptly named Victory Corner here in Motegi. Look how many overtaking hotspots there are around this 4.8 kilometer layout. This was 2 years ago when they were fighting for the World Championship. Jorge Martin on Pecco Bagnaia into turn 9. So MotoGP left European shores until November. Last time out we raced on Italy's Adriatic coast at Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli turned out to be a tough, intense two-rider battle for the victory. Marco Bezzecchi versus Marc Marquez has been the story of so many recent races. More home round heartache though for Pecco Bagnaia, who has bounced back in some style, it's fair to say, here in Japan. That was a crucial mid-race mistake by Marco Bezzecchi, which allowed Marc Marquez to perfectly bounce back from a rare sprint blitz on Sprint Saturday in Misano. That was win number 11 in 2025, secured for the number 93. What that means, Marc Marquez has arrived in Japan, where for the fourth time in his Grand Prix career, following up from 2014, 2016 and 2018, he can lift the MotoGP World Championship. Will we, for the first time since 2019, 6 long years ago, in what, just about 24 hours time, be saying Marc Marquez is the new MotoGP World Champion? The magic number, the buzz number of the weekend has been 3. Marc needs to outscore brother Alex by 3 points at the end of play tomorrow. 12 laps sprint action coming your way, 24 laps the main Grand Prix here tomorrow. If Marc scores 3 points more than Alex, it is game over. Quite appropriate that it is those 3 points that Marc needs, because he's been locked in P3 in every single session on track so far this weekend here at Motegi. 3rd in both practice sessions yesterday, 3rd in FP2 this morning, and he was 3rd quickest in what turned out to be a sensational, a record-breaking and memorable Motegi qualifying here in MotoGP. Marc given a present from one of his adoring Japanese fans. We do come armed with some very special gifts. The prize that Marc wants, though, beckons potentially here in Japan tomorrow as he looks to complete a truly dominant season in red for the factory Ducati team, as he looks to be crowned MotoGP World Champion. Smiles for once on the opposite side of the factory Ducati garage earlier on today, as Pecco Bagnaia delivered a blockbuster lap, a 142.911, putting him on pole position for just the 2nd time in 2025. Can Bagnaia convert that into his first sprint victory of the season?